Hey math enthusiast, I'm here to continue the notes on volume, and we're going to take a look at the volume of cylinders. So if you recall how we calculated the volume of a triangular prism, we focused on finding the area of the base, and then we multiplied that by whatever the length of that figure was to figure out the entire volume. So we're going to do something similar here for a cylinder. We're going to focus on finding the area of the base, whether that be the top or the bottom of the figure. And then we're going to multiply that by whatever my height is. So if you remember how to calculate the area of a circle, it is pi r squared, so we can see that in our formula, multiplied by the height to find the entire volume. So let's pick out the given information. So first thing they're asking about is the diameter, which given in my picture is 8 centimeters. Now for the formula, I'm going to need the radius. So we need to recall that the radius is just going to be the diameter divided by 2. In this case, it's 8 divided by 2, which is going to give me a radius of 4 centimeters. Now we can plug this into our formula. So my volume is equal to pi, which they're approximating to 3.14, times r squared, which we just determined was 4 squared, times the height. And the height is given in my picture as 9 centimeters. So my formula is going to turn into 3.14 times 16 times 9. So we can multiply all three of those values together, which gives me a final volume of 452.16, but I'm going to round it to 0.2 here, to the nearest tenth. And the units we were using were centimeters, so it's going to be centimeters, and it's going to be cubed because we're talking about volume. So now let's see if we can apply this formula to our next two examples. So starting with number 4, let's just jot down the information that we are given. So it looks like the radius of my cylinder is going to be 10 inches, and the height of my cylinder is going to be 18 inches. Now, just to recall, our formula for the volume of a cylinder is going to be pi r squared times the height. So it looks like I have all the information I need, so let's plug that in. I'm going to keep pi as that constant. We have r squared, which is going to be 10 squared, times h, which is 18. So we can square our terms first, if that helps. Looks like I'm going to end up with 100, which is going to be easy to multiply with 18, and then I need to multiply that by pi, which gives me a final answer of 5,654.9 when I round to the nearest tenth. And the units we were using were inches. And I'm going to cube that because it's volume. So now moving on to number 5, let's once again start off with what we're given. So it looks like my diameter is 8 inches, which means that my radius is going to be half of that, which is just going to be 4. The other item I need to calculate my volume is the height. Now the problem is we're not given the height of my cylinder. Instead they give us this 17, which represents this diagonal distance here. So what I want to do is copy down that triangle that's inside my cylinder. So we have 17 for this long side. I have 8 for the diameter up top. It is a right triangle because it's a right cylinder. And what I want to figure out is what is that height. Now instead of putting h there, I'm going to put b. Because in this case we have a right triangle. I have the hypotenuse, I have one leg, and I'm looking for another leg. So what I'm going to end up using, similar to what I did up above, is the Pythagorean Theorem. So we're going to have leg squared equals hypotenuse squared, and I'm just going to go back and fill in my information. So we have 8 and b for my legs, so we'll plug them in. And for my hypotenuse, it's going to be 17. So after I go through and square my terms, and then I subtract them, it looks like I'm going to end up with b squared equals 225, which tells me that b is 15. So now I have a value for my height. So b, or h, is 15 inches. So now I can go back and calculate my volume. So if you recall, it is pi r squared, and then times the height. So we'll plug in our values. I'm going to keep pi as pi, that constant. We figured out my radius was 4, and our height now is 15. So after I square that 4, it looks like I'm going to end up with 16 times 15 times pi, which is going to give me 754 after I round it to the nearest tenth. So it's going to go up to that whole number. And my units are inches, and it's going to be cubed because I'm talking about volume. Now for my next example, number 6, they're talking about trying to figure out the volume of a can. So maybe you want to sketch out a little picture of this. I know it's going to be a cylinder, and they give me some more information to go with it. They're telling me that my height is 6 inches, the height of the can, and the diameter straight across is 5 inches. So in order to calculate my volume, I'm going to need some information here. They do tell me my diameter is 5, but I'm really going to need the radius, which is going to be half of that, 2.5. And I'm obviously going to need my height, which in this case is 6. So once we have all our given information down, now I can go to my formula and plug everything in. So if we recall, it is pi r squared times height. So we'll plug in what we have. In this case, our radius is 2.5. Our height is 6. And we have to square that radius, which is going to give me 6.25. And then I need to multiply all those terms together, which gives me a final volume of 117.8 inches cubed.